Artemus here. As you can see by the piece of paper I was holding up, we're doing another all kinds of awesome album review, trademarked. Um, a lot of times in the past, I did albums that I was on the cover of. Just being one of the many privileges of being the world's greatest guitarist. Magical shredding fingers, and also being in the music business as a roadie for 4 decades. You know, gave me the gift of magical ears of honey. So I do a lot of all kinds of awesome album reviews. And I've also even been lucky enough to be on some of those covers. And today is one of those situations where you can't see me, but I was there. I was on the cover, which is all kinds of awesome. Trademark. Um, you know, a lot of time I do prog rock bands because I'm a rocker. You know, right out of the gate. But I love music in general. Being a musician, world's greatest guitarist, magical ears of honey. Being around all these bands. I really appreciate music, and it comes in many genres, and I appreciate it all. I do tend to lean towards a lot of prog rock. That's music I really love because it pushes boundaries, and but once again, music in general. I did Michael Jackson Thriller a couple weeks ago, which in my opinion, and a lot of people will share that opinion. It was a decade-defining album, for the '80s, and the album I'm doing, tonight, in my opinion, and also the music industry in general, and appreciators of innovative and next level music. Pushing the boundaries, kind of, not fitting into a mold, and whatever, term you want to throw behind it. Not only this band, but this album, and, pretty much every album they make, you know, shows that they're master musicians, and they're always progressing their craft. Tremendous amount of respect for it. What we have here is OK Computer by Radiohead. Forgive me, I can't remember exactly what year it came out. 1997. Okay. Um, you know, in my opinion, and once again, a lot of people share this opinion. It was one of the greatest albums of the '90s. Just very innovative, and at that time, a lot of bands were this is after grunge. Grunge didn't, it faded out. It didn't die down. It just kind of it faded until basically into new metal. There's always a new subgenre that comes along. That's like the it thing of the moment. Not taken away from these subgenres, but subgenres they fluctuate. Once again, kind of grunge going out, and Radiohead had what you call a grunge hit on their first studio album, Pablo Honey, and that song was Creep. Unfortunately, most of the mainstream, that's the only song they remember Radiohead from is like Creep. But, that was their audio infancy. They progressively just changed their game. Um, I know to each their own as far as music. But I honestly believe that regardless of what genre you find yourself drawn to, you know, there's something on this album that will move you in some way, that will, um, catch your ear. If you walk up to someone on the street and tell them, like, so, a majority of people, I guess, once again, they only know Creep, but it's, I mean, so many facets of their music is just amazing. Um, the individuals themselves, Tom York, you know, great writer. First off, as a whole, um, when you take a blend of of, you know, five, I think six guys now. They got another drummer. Um, you know, they are all um, high level at a high level of their craft, and you put them working together. Um, Amazing things happen. You know, a lot of bands sometimes had a primary songwriter, or some, you know, a lot of bands have, you know, a lead guitarist, a rhythm guitarist, and that's all they do. You know, with Radiohead, um, you know, with few exceptions, you know, Colin Greenwood, I mean, he just plays an awesome bass, and all kinds of awesome bass. In my opinion, uh, an underrated bass player. You know, um, regardless of what album it's on, from Pablo Honey to you know, uh, Kid A to I mean, OK Computer, um, to Moonshaped Pool. I mean, his bass lines are great. You know, and then Johnny Greenwood. Don't have words to say. You know, I just all kinds of awesome. Um, Multi instrumentalist. You know, I mean, he'd be playing, you know, a snare drum on one track. He could be behind the piano on another track. You know, I mean, he's just awesome, and he gets, you know, they experiment too. You know, that's something that, you know, you don't see enough of these days. That's, you know, something I used to, you know, remember seeing, you know, in the Pink Floyd, you know, days. Um, you know, a lot of bands still do it, but, you know, in the '90s, this was like the pinnacle of that. You know, this album, OK Computer. Um, you know, I'm running long with this because, you know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for this album. I may be the world's greatest guitarist. You know, I may be a multi-instrumentalist. I may be a producer, an engineer, you know, aspiring filmmaker. You know, that's the next thing I'm trying to take over. You know, but Radiohead, the band, the individual members, you know, they're all kinds of awesome. You know, this is one of those albums that, you know, every band's gonna have one album that they're best known for, or, you know, even bands that have, you know, multiple great albums. You know, Nirvana had, you know, three great albums, but, you know, uh, you know, Nevermind's gonna be what they're known for. You know, Led Zeppelin had great albums. You know, but four is probably, you know, the most known. Um, you know, Michael Jackson, Thriller. You know, I mean, defining albums, and in my opinion, for Radiohead, this was them. This, you know, the Benz was great. You know, the album between the Pablo Honey and this Benz was great, but in my opinion, with few exceptions, you know, um, I could tell that they were pushing an envelope, or you know, pushing the walls of the box to get out. Um, but with, you know, OK Computer, they did it brilliantly. You know, some of the standout tracks. You know, I'm not going to take this album out of here. Wonderful album. I don't want to take it out. It's still in great shape, and, you know, I play this one as well as, you know, try to preserve it. You know, instead of side 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a double album, of course. You know, A, B, C, D. They have them labeled Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, which I thought was clever. You know, they give you what they feel is the logical track order, which is awesome. You know, and there's a kind of a, you know, a coded, you know, there's a key, 1 equals 2, and, you know, I don't even get it. You know, I listen to the order of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. But getting back to the track list itself, Airbag, you know, kind of somber track, you know, with the guitar line. It's you know, that's another thing about Radiohead is they, you know, they take you on journeys with their music, which, you know, once again, I have a lot of respect for that as bands. But Paranoid Android, Um, I think I heard it was supposed to be 3 songs. They put it into one. Worked brilliantly. Exit music for a film. I mean, that song feels what the title is. I mean, it feels like it should be that. Um, those emotions that they want you to feel. At the climax of a movie, it kind of feels like that. Um, no surprises. Obviously that has a great. I think it's a xylophone sound or a voice on a keyboard or piano that sounds like a xylophone. Um, you know, Karma Police. Real simple piano chords. But I mean, as far as the foundation, but a song as a whole, and Tom York's like falsetto. I'm not a vocalist. I'm not really up on that, but his beautiful, his highs are they're awesome. In all the songs. But once again, uh, as always, highly recommend it. Um, it's all it's all kinds of awesome. You know, highly recommend you listen to it, whatever format you listen to music on. You know, CD, cassette. 1997 might have came out in cassette. Vinyl, MP3s. Highly recommend listening to the order. That it was originally intended by the artist. It's all kinds of awesome. Listen to it front to back. Enjoy it. Artist Toast out. Me again. Sorry. I mentioned I was on this album cover. I forgot to bring it up. It's just another day for me. But that car right there. This is actually a lithograph, I think, of it. But that car right there. The photographer was on a hillside, pointed down, and I was in the car, and I was actually waving up through the window, hoping to get on there. I'm actually in that car, but I knew a roadie that we actually both roadied for The Cure in the '80s, and he happened to be roadieing for them at the time, and I was I was passing through, and I ran into him at a pub. And he was like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with the band Radiohead." I was like, "Radiohead, yeah." What's up? He's like, "Oh, you want to come hang out?" I was like, "Yeah." And then that's how I ended up being in that picture. But once again, one of the many album covers I'm on. World's Greatest Guitarist. Artemus Toast out.